pro wrestling and you, the most interactive pro wrestling talk show on the face of the internet. Now, you know what, Joey? This episode, since we didn't get our 100 views last episode, is going to be more intense than the Aggro Crag, baby.
Aggro Crag, baby. Now, is that the Aggro Crag from the regular Guts or Global Guts?
Global.
Global Guts.
It had streamers.
I like it.
So I do too.
So, today we're going to talk about, we did not watch the Turning Point pay-per-view last night, but we felt so compelled by what happened in the main event.
Yep. We're going to do an entire episode on it. You strap in your seatbelt, get ready.
So this is basically what we're going to be talking about. Thoughts that could help TNA become a better company.
You can call this a booster shot in the TNA's ass and a smack to move it around.
So let's inform the people, in case you didn't see it or you don't have any way to read or you're blind.
If you're blind, we're sorry. But if you're listening, we'll explain it very clearly so that if you are visually challenged, you'll be okay.
Last night, Scott Hall no-showed the event.
He said he had food poisoning.
And that wasn't until later in the night. That was, who knows when, but I know they didn't get a text message or anything, no call until the event started.
Right.
So they had to find somebody to replace him, which we'll get to in a minute.
When I call into work, I don't do it via text message.
And I usually call a few hours in advance.
Yeah, and I usually say that I can't make it to work because I can't stop peeing from all the sex I had last night.
That's right. So what they did is they gave Joe a microphone right before the match started, and they told him to basically run a promo on Scott Hall.
Well, and to introduce the replacement partner for the main event tag match.
The promo ran 5 minutes longer than it was supposed to.
Well, that's off the hearsay. We're going off what we've read. We are not in the TNA backstage area, management, or facility. What we heard was Joe kind of went in business for himself. But you know what? There are a couple of different things about this. Number one, like Joey was explaining, Samoa Joe kind of went on a tirade, a rant, talking about the difference between TNA wrestlers and TNA superstars. Superstars being people like Scott Hall, like Kevin Nash, Booker T, Kurt Angle,
Sting.
People that are there really to pad their pension, is how he put it. Not people like the Black Machismo, people like the Motor City Machine Guns, people like Samoa Joe who bust their ass every single night.
Basically, the entire X Division and a handful of heavyweights.
Thank you, Christian Cage.
Yes, thank you, Christian Cage. No, yeah, good. I want to make a point. Notice we didn't throw his name in there with the Stings and the Kurt Angles. Yeah. Christian bust his... Not saying that Sting doesn't bust his ass.
No, he took thumbtacks.
Yeah, he did.
Sting took thumbtacks.
And not to say Kurt Angle doesn't bust his ass, which we'll get to Kurt Angle later on. There's reasons we threw his name in there. So, upon what Joe said, basically did a whole shoot on Scott Hall, no showing, that the older guys who come in are basically there to pad their pockets, and that he, and this is where it starts to come in with the whole introducing the partner, that he asked people who would want to be in the main event, and one guy stood up.
One guy, bloody, beaten, and bruised, and they introduced EY Eric Young. At first, you would say, Eric Young? But Eric Young is one of the most over people in TNA that has never had really a significant feud. He's just he's a good wrestler, but you've never seen it.
Nope.
I mean, I've seen a couple of, I almost said Velocity, but explosion matches between EY and AJ Styles, and they were quite good. But
go back into when he was in Team Canada and he had a few matches. He can wrestle. The guy can wrestle.
The guy can go.
He was trained by Scott D'Amore, so he can wrestle.
Boom. That's 100% Canadian.
So now spinning off everything what happened, before we even get to our thoughts about what TNA should do, why Joe was doing this whole shoot, he at one point looked at somebody off camera. Once again, we're taking off what we read. Supposedly looked at Dixie Carter, and when he said this line, "I don't care, go ahead and fire me," he was looking at her.
Yeah.
We weren't there. We didn't see the pay-per-view. We don't know. If that's the case, for me personally, I have no problem with what he said and what he did.
I know Dixie has never felt She's never wanted to be an on-screen character like Vince McMahon. She didn't want to do anything like that, and I can see her feeling, having emotional and mixed feelings about this, seeing he kind of singled her out, making her kind of look like a bad guy, and Dixie is just some chick that doesn't really know anything about pro wrestling, just has a buttload of money. And I mean that I mean, if I was in her shoes, I probably would have been rubbed the wrong way. But Samoa Joe sold the angle completely. I didn't know up until later today that it was a planned shoot. I guessed, but I mean he went on and on about like we said the difference between the superstars and the actual wrestlers, and then made that comment to Dixie. And
he did apologize. Today is Monday, obviously.
Yeah.
I guess they had a meeting. Once again, reading offline. He did apologize to everybody. I don't think he had apologized for anything. I think what he said was what a lot of people in TNA, young guys, were thinking. And I guess Dixie Carter later during the meeting said if anybody wanted their outright release, they could. And only one person left. So my opinion on that is a lot of people agree with what Samoa Joe had to say. Honestly, that's it. Plain and simple.
It wasn't professional of him to do what he did. Yeah. But professional and be damned. Samoa Joe just took TNA by the nuts and just gave it a bitch slap in the face.
To me, this is the equivalent of when Shane Douglas took the NWA title, and we've been talking about they need to do something like this for a while, and he threw it down. This is the equivalent. This is Samoa Joe. That's it right there. Samoa
Steroids.
Pills. And that's the equivalent. And TNA needed something like this. Okay? So moving on now, what we think TNA can do and take it now and run with it and make it better. First, go ahead.
Now for a special treat. Guess what? You're in store for the very first annual, the genesis, the beginning of a great segment called the Casey Strata Minute. Make a title, Joey, when you edit this. Great. Casey Strata Minute. Here it is. Basically, things that make me really angry when I sit at home and I'm trying to go to the bathroom, or, I'm waiting in line at the supermarket, or maybe something, I start thinking. I call it a sickness, pretty much, because I get so mad about stuff that I shouldn't even be mad about. It doesn't even make sense. And, you know what the topic today is? Since, we basically just passed this, I want to talk about Survivor Series. Not Survivor Series 2007, Survivor Series 1997. That's right, Bret Hart. I'm talking about you. You know why? Because Shawn Michaels screwed you. Vince McMahon screwed you. You know why? Because you're a jerk. You want to go to WCW. You wanted to keep your title. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too. Well, you know what, Bret Hart? I'm more excellent in your execution, and here's why. What bad happened to you? What were the negative repercussions of the Montreal Screwjob on Bret Hart? Can anyone think of any? He was more over in Canada? He went out smelling like a rose? Everyone else looked bad but him? It was a work, and I'm tired of people bitching about it. Canada, grow up. And that's the Casey Strata Minute. Thank you.
Good.
Hi, welcome to Pro Wrestling and You, your most favorite interactive talk show about, guess what, pro wrestling. And you know what? Tonight's episode...
Do that over.
What?
Because you're kicking something.
Well, your fucking shoes are all up in my grill.
Come on, we've never done this many retakes.